again, coming at you another review, as you can tell from up there. Another entry in childhood favorites. This is a film I revisited a while back when my brother was over. I've been meaning to review it, and never got a chance to. You know, stuff coming up, or haven't been able to sit down. Today's the first day I have a chance to do it. And of course, it's a film that I used to watch off and on in my childhood. I believe I might have had it taped on a VHS at one point. I know whenever it was on movie channels and we had movie channels for free or whatever, and it was on, I would watch it. It's just one of those films that I'm like, you know what, it looks like it would be interesting to watch. And partially because I liked one of the actors in it, that of course being our lead, Daniel Stern. It is the Greg Beeman directed film from 1995, which is a comedy adventure crime film, Bushwacked. Now, this is following in the heels of Home Alone, where I'm guessing Stern was kinda, say, uber hot when it comes to making money as a leading man, because technically for Home Alone he wasn't the leading man, he was one of the main villains. If anything, it was probably Macaulay Culkin that sold those films more, but you know, studios would probably look at him and go, you know, he's in some hit films, let's give him a vehicle. And of course we get Bushwacked, which I have to say, as a leading man in this film, he doesn't do a bad job. I mean, I've liked him in previous films. I thought he was good as a character in Leviathan. Then, of course, remember right, he was in Chud, but I think in that movie he's a side character. So this one you see a little bit more of his leading man stuff. And after this, I don't really think he was that much of a leading man, which is kind of a shame. And again, that's just off the top of my head. I'll channel a little bit. Now, this film is a 5.4 on IMDb, which for a film like this is a very reasonable score. And I could see after revisiting a film why it has that. I can tell you I agree with that more than its Rotten Tomatoes score. 38 with the audience, and an 11 with the critics. There's not even a consensus. It's like, really, an 11 for this? Anyway. In addition to Stern, the film stars John Polito, Brad Sullivan, Ann Dowd, Anthony Held, and Tom Wood, amongst other actors. Most of them, I'm guessing, are the kid actors, which I'm not really going to go into detail on them. Let's just say that there's, for what they have to do, and kid actors, what you expect from most of them, they do fine. Especially considering most of the characters are the type of characters you expect in these movies. You know, each of them, they kind of have a charm because of the kid actors, but writing-wise, they're all one-note guys. You know, you got the one that's like nerd, the one that has the asthma, the one that's their mother's in charge, and of course the girl in there. You know, it's just mostly stuff you would expect from these movies with these characters. Now, Beeman, I'm checking to see what he's directed on this. And right before this film, he directed Problem Child 3. And since this film, he hasn't really directed much other stuff. He directed Brink in 98, Under Wraps in 97, which I remember having fun with that film on Disney Channel. Maybe one of these days I'll do like a review of some Disney Channel original films. In the 2000s, he directed Miracle in Lane 2, The Ultimate Christmas Presents, which that's another one from the Disney Channel original films I remember having fun with. And the last thing he directed was a Note 2. I can make sure he's not gone, you know. No, he's still here. He's still doing stuff. He's doing mostly, I'm guessing that's mostly his movie stuff. Let's see, 3 episodes of The Wonder Years, episodes of Nash Bridges. He mostly did TV stuff. Okay, more recently he's done TV episodes, like an episode of Once Upon a Time, episode of Memphis Beat, Rizzoli and Eyeless, something for Aquaman, I'm guessing a pilot, 105 episodes of Smallville, and that's about it. So I'm guessing, oh yeah, he also did an episode of Erie, Indiana. How many people remember that show from the early 90s? I do. Kind of makes me feel old that I can say that. Then again, not as old as when I can say I haven't seen Ghostbusters 2 in 20 years. That makes me feel very old. Now, the score was done by Bill Conti, and he did this score right around the time he did Spy Hard. And I have to say, the main theme for this movie is actually a very, it's not uber memorable, but when you hear it, it makes you want to go out on an adventure. It makes you want to run out of the house like Bilbo Baggins with a map going, I'm going on an adventure! It is a very great score for a kid's film. It's one of those ones that you could probably use in tribute making. And I'm looking to see what else he did around the same time. He did The Next Karate Kid around this time. Okay, that's how they're doing it. They're doing it in reverse order. You know, he did the scores for Rocky 5, Rocky Balboa, the Thomas Crown Affair, Wrongfully Accused. I remember that being an okay parody film. I have it in my collection someday, along with Spy Hard. So maybe one of these days I'll do a double feature of that. But anyway, back to the main film. The film was written by 4 people: John Jordan, Danny Byers, Tommy Swerdlow, and Michael Goldberg. And I could tell with the final film, it kind of shows a little bit that it was written by 4 people. I don't know if one of them wrote the original screenplay and it kept getting rewritten. But at points you could tell that it was written by multiple people and probably with different ideas or anything. And you could also tell a little bit that it was written for kids. Now what I mean by that is that at times the plot has weird things like how would the fire be able to destroy all the body except for the teeth? If it was hot enough to destroy the rest of the body, why would the teeth still be there? Unless people knew in advance he had fake teeth. So it's like, huh. Then again, when you think about it later, it's like, okay, that's the way they were able to cover it up briefly and then they get cut like that, so it's like, huh. Now, the plot of the film is that Daniel Stern plays Max Grabelski. He works for a package delivery company, and recently he's been delivering packages to a millionaire named Reinhard Bragdon, who's played in the film by Anthony Held. And each time he delivers a package, he gets a $50 tip. Now, he shows up there the day the movie begins, delivering at 10 p.m. instead of a.m., which, of course, is the time that his company guarantees the delivery. Now, when he goes inside, to deliver, it's like, Mr. Bragdon, I got your package. Just give it to me and I'll have you $50 tip be on my way. He goes in there and there's a fire in the main room. Now, this is the part that as a kid, it kind of went a little over my head, even though I enjoyed watching it. Now, the moment he comes out of the room, Agent Palmer comes in, tries to arrest him. He's like, there's a fire in there. I know, and you started it. I always used to think, really, is this cop, as a kid I always thought, is this cop really stupid enough that he's really going to automatically suspect that guy? Granted, common sense would denote, okay, the guy's there, he probably did set the fire. But right off the bat, maybe it's because we're supposed to sympathize with Grabelski, even though he is kind of a dick at first. But I'd say he's kind of in the Peter Venkman category where he's a likable one, but I'll say Venkman's more likable. And that's mostly because of him being around other people and the other people liking him. Grabelski, at first you kind of find him hard to like. Now, as things, now he escapes, and Palmer works for the FBI, and of course, they put the all points bulletin on him. So Grabelski has to get out of there. He eventually runs into a scoutmaster, and the scoutmaster attempts to apprehend him, and of course, the scoutmaster is played in the film brilliantly by Brad Sullivan. It's not really like, a very deep character, but he fits it, kind of like that Marine type of mentality. And of course, he eventually steals his car, and he makes his way to a campground, which, based on the map he has, will take him to where he has to go, which is where the last package is going to be delivered. And of course, since he's driving the Scoutmaster's car, he's mistaken for the Scoutmaster. So at first, he's pretending to be the Scouts, the Scoutmaster of these Scouts who we meet earlier in the film, who want to go on an overnight with a real Scoutmaster and not their troop mother. Well, he goes with them. At first he's thinking of ditching them, but then he decides not to. Eventually, he finds out that one of them knows the direction to where they are going, more so because he saw a sign. So he goes with them. At first he's still thinking, I'm going to ditch him, but as time goes on, he sees they're kind of useful, especially when Palmer shows up. And we find out, this is a minor spoiler, that Bragdon isn't dead. He, in fact, is faking his death, and Grabelski is going to be the patsy. Now, this is something as a kid I kind of understood, but it's more watching as an adult. I'm like, okay, I get that. I get that opening a little bit more. Now, of course, eventually, Grabelski's going to have to help the cops catch these guys, which that goes into the ending a little bit. And as the film goes on, Grabelski changes a little bit, and he changes for the better, because in the end, he's a better man than he was in the beginnings. And it's that story arc of his character and how he interacts with the kids, and also the bad guy and stuff, even though the bad guy plot is formulaic to a point. It's why I could say I still enjoy this film, and of course the score and then the direction. Now, some of the stuff you see in the film, you're like, okay, this film was definitely filmed in the 90s, like the B prop and stuff like that. It's like, okay, definitely. But it's still fun. I wouldn't classify it as a guilty pleasure, because I don't think it's really that bad. but I wouldn't classify it as one of the greatest films ever made. If I gave it with my score, I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5, something like that. Now on IMDb, there is some interesting stuff I found. Like, originally this was going to be a spin-off of Home Alone with Stern being Marv. Which you could tell in the way the character's written a little bit that this was supposed to be Marv because of how he's a little dim-witted. But this guy, I'd say definitely Grabowski is smarter than Marv. And it also makes me wonder if this was originally going to be Marv, which that probably explains a little bit of the writing problems. It's like, okay, why would Marv be out? Was he out on parole? Did he make a deal to turn state's evidence against Harry, and that's the reason he's like this? Because with how Marv comes off in the first two films, I don't think Marv would have turned state's evidence against Harry either. That's just me. And, oh, that's who did it. It was the Farrelly brothers who did an uncredited rewrite. I wonder if there was the final one. If that's the case, that explains it a little bit more. Okay, that's fun. That's about it to state under the trivia, but that's the most interesting thing other than Stern not really doing some of the lessons for swimming and all that, which kind of comes out good in how his character is when compared to the kids. Now, if there's anything else to say about this film, as it was Sullivan's last theatrical appearance before he retired from acting in 2000, and he died in 2008, so, you know, this basically, I guess, this is his swan song. The film is 90 minutes, and it goes by at a good pace, so it's not really a waste of time to watch it unless you really hate it, but that's going to be your prerogative. It doesn't say what the movie was made for on Wikipedia, but it made almost $8 million, which if that's lower than its budget, I could sort of understand probably why, because of the trailer, but I really didn't. I did enjoy it. And also, this is Beeman's last theatrical film, apparently. Kind of sad there. He deserved more, but at least he's still getting work. Like I said, a 3.5 out of 5. If you are a fan of Daniel Stern, I'd say this is worth a watch. It's on Netflix. That's how I watched it.